And welcome back. My next guest tonight is involved in the city's healing process on several fronts as the former chairman of the Robin Hood Foundation and the co-founder of World Team Sports. Peter Kiernan, welcome to the show.
John, it's great to be here.
Thank you so much for coming in. We're going to talk about this bike race. Now, our viewers may remember Dan Rowan, a firefighter who was here last week and who so eloquently pitched for the reasons why people should join up on this bike race. Tell us about the race.
I'm happy to. Well, Dan's a great warm-up. He started by riding his bike across the country, so he's given us a great pace to keep up with. Imagine this is going to be the weekend after September 11th. 3,000 people, each bearing a name on their jersey of someone who lost their life in the tragedy. Leaving from ground zero on a bicycle or a wheelchair or a hand cycle, traveling down to the Pentagon, 270 miles, and then we're going to finish at the reflecting pool at the Washington Monument on Sunday. All for a simple purpose, which is we want to honor those who lost their lives.
How many miles is that again?
It'll be 270 miles.
270 miles.
All downhill, I promise. It's a very relaxing ride.
And there are, when Dan was here, he was saying that there are opportunities for riders who may not be able to go the whole distance to
There
get
absolutely
off at
are.
certain points.
My guess of the 3,000, probably 1,200 will ride the whole distance, and what we've done is provided ways for people who are a little less interested in riding so much to do so. So we'll have a 5-mile ride the first day, and then a 40-mile ride, which is about half the day, which would be a great ride. It's down the Jersey Shore. And then for people who want to ride from the Pentagon to the Washington Monument, it'll be about a 15-mile ride. So that all in, I expect thousands and thousands of people will be joining us.
And tell us about your efforts to get the word out. Have you been going to firehouses? Did I read that?
We've been kind of getting the word out. It turns out there's a real network, and not just because Dan has been so helpful to us, but we've got so far about 700 people signed up to do the whole thing, which is, I had in my mind a target of 1,000 to 1,200. We've had many, many people from around the world sign up. So we've had teams from, for instance, the Kenya embassy that was bombed is sending a team. Oklahoma City is sending a team. There's a team coming from Israel, all disabled by terrorism attacks over there. So we've had just an incredible worldwide response, which says to me that there are a lot of people who care about New York and a lot of people who want to honor those who lost their lives.
And tell us more about World Team Sports. This is just one facet of what your organization
World Team
is.
Sports is basically dedicated to a simple proposition, and that is that through sport, healing can occur. Typically, our events are challenge events. So the last one we did, for example, was we took 50 Vietnam veterans and 50 Viet Cong veterans. And for the 25th anniversary of the end of that war, we rode from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City through the jungles of Vietnam.
I think we have some video of that, actual, these aren't races, we should point out.
No,
these
they're
are more
definitely,
tours.
everybody gets home. That's what we're hoping.
And there you can see.
This is, we are right there. It was actually an incredibly exciting ride because we left Hanoi and literally 2 million people lined the streets to watch us. That's Greg LeMond, who will be riding in this event too, one of the greatest cyclists in the world. I might point out that I'm on team just to represent the other end of the riding spectrum.
You'll be the guy with the bike pump
that's
behind
right,
Greg LeMond.
Huffing and puffing. These are an array of hand cycles, and you can see across the front both Vietnamese and Americans riding as one. And this is coming into, that was the gate where the tank crashed through. This is at the end in Saigon, now called Ho Chi Minh City. This is 1,200 miles later through some really rough territory, all through the country of Vietnam.
For the Face of America, where are some good viewing points in case New Yorkers want to come out and cheer on the cyclists?
Absolutely. We're going to start from ground zero and go along the west side for the first 5 miles. And frankly, if people want to ride their bikes, even that short distance, we would love to have them. This is all about showing our spirit and the strength. We will be a single team. We're going to go down along the New Jersey shore, so Cape May and a bunch of
How are you getting from south tip of Manhattan to the Jersey Shore?
Great question. We will not be closing the tunnels and bridges for those who are commuting that day. I want to reassure you. What we've got is a system where people will be taking ferries across from New York to the New Jersey side. It's the only way. We're going to have at least 2,000 people trying to get out of town on a bicycle, and we figure if we can get them all on a boat or two, that's a much safer way to do it.
You know, we could take the boat right down to Washington.
Oh, we could arrange that for those of you who want to ride the last 10 feet.
We'll meet you there. We were telling you before, Peter, about your role with the Robin Hood Foundation.
Sure.
In the minute that we have left,
Sure.
I logged onto the website before, and it says we're not your typical foundation.
No, I don't think we're your typical foundation. You know, we had a tremendous experience, one of the most moving in my life, and that was a month after the tragedy, we put the concert on for the City of New York with some very, very generous donors, and we have been charged with the responsibility of giving that money away. The concert raised about $35 million, and all of that has been given away. We've been through CDs and individual grants, and we're continuing to raise money. We have about $23 million left. We're going to focus on mental health. So many of the people that have been on your show and that have phoned in or talked in or been involved say that the lingering aspects of mental health are the real issue. And I know there's a lot of pressure to give the money away, and we're trying to do this as thoughtfully as we can, but I'll tell you, judging by my experience, we're going to run out of money long before we run out of need.
Why do you do what you do? You're once a partner at Goldman Sachs.
I was employed for many years at Goldman Sachs, and I've fallen head over heels in love with the city. It's easy to do. It's the greatest city in the world. And what's fascinating to me is how many people from around the world have the same sort of attitude. And so for this ride, for example, we have people from all over the country, and on the form it says, why are you riding in this? And they say, because for a brief period of time, all the world were New Yorkers. And I want to get back to that feeling.
And Peter Kiernan, how do we reach you for World Team Sports? Do we have a phone number or a phone
website.
frame?
I'll
We
give you
do.
the phone
Okay.
number. It's 704-370-6070.
Okay.
And worldteamsports.org.
WorldTeamSports.org. We just
All one
briefly
word.
saw on our screen RobinHood.org as well if
Absolutely.
you want to research that group. WorldTeamSports.org and RobinHood.org. Peter Kiernan, thank you so much for
It's a
coming
pleasure to be with you. And how many miles can I put you down for, John? Are
I
you
did
a
the
5
bike.
or a
I did the
40?
5-borough bike tour with my brother-in-law a couple months ago. It was 42 miles, and I limped for 2 weeks.
I'll
so.
tell you, we'll take care of you. It's all downhill, I
Good.
promise.
Well, I appreciate that. Peter, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
At